Love that sound. Alright. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to No Lives Left. My name is Nerdy Friend, and we're going to play MMM, or Murder Most Misfortunate. Found this one, and this one looks really neat. So, from what I understand, it's a murder mystery, and you have to solve a murder that people are like believing that you are the prime suspect. So you have to not only like try to prove your innocence, but you have to figure out who actually did it. So, without further ado, let's get into this. Murder Most Misfortunate. It's a real-time mystery. When enabled, you will have to solve the mystery within a limited time period. A clock will appear at the top right corner during sections where this time limit is counting down. This option is included for those who like tension. Actually, I'm not going to do that because I really want to get all the details. If I was to do like a sort of like speed run, then probably, but I want you guys to help me solve this mystery. So, let's go ahead and start. Left click on this text or press the spacebar to proceed. Click ... on the right to have the game proceed automatically. Press escape to access volume and text speed settings. Use the scroll wheel when hovering over this text box to see what was previously said. Oh, neat. I like.
My dear Misfortune, I hope this letter finds you well. I did so enjoy our little discussion of the work of Guy de Mauvaisier the last time we met. I would like to cordially invite you to an intimate gathering of mine on the evening of the 27th. We will be celebrating my recent acquisition of a rather unique historical property, and I think you are just the one to properly appreciate it. I look forward to your RSVP in the affirmative. Most sincerely yours, Prince Titanico.
It was at an art auction, I think, that I first met Prince Titanico. He seemed to think the world of himself. I, quite frankly, thought him a bit of a bore. But if I only accepted social invitations from people I thoroughly approved, I wouldn't dine out very often.
Uh-huh. So far, I'm alright with the art.
I stepped onto the curb from my limo and laid eyes on the place for the first time.
I think it's actually quite interesting that it's being all spoken to me rather than me having to read it.
Loomed ominously over the old house, and creeping vines wound their way up its walls, as though trying to strangle it. The prince had been right. It really was to my taste.
Good evening, ma'am. May I have your name?
Ugh, this hulking thug, on the other hand, not so much. Fortune. Miss Fortune.
Is the miss a first name or a title, ma'am?
Oh, I like to leave that to the imagination. Now, you must be the butler, so why don't you buttle on and show me inside? The evening is a bit damp, I dare say.
No, ma'am. I'm not a butler. Just a valet. My name is Klops.
Oh my, what a terrible shame. Well, butler, or valet, you do open doors, don't you?
Yes, ma'am. Right this way.
Oh, he is not happy. My character is like kind of a bitch, but you know what? I think in the uppity sort of way. I don't even know whether or not I hate her yet.
From the cobwebs in the corners and the dust on the railings, it was obvious that the house had been abandoned for some time. Some high society guests might have been insulted to be invited to a venue in such ill repair, but it didn't bother me. I realized that the house had been preserved as it was for the effect.
Misfortune has arrived.
Ah, Misfortune, good evening. There are refreshments on the side table. Please do help yourself.
Why, thank you. So, are you the butler? Or are you going to tell me you're just, I don't know, the concierge?
Butler? No, 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 no. I'm not a servant. I am a close friend and trusted advisor to our dear prince.
Mm-hmm.
The Grand Magus of his court, if you will. My name is Horatio.
Charmed, I'm sure.
My dear Misfortune, how are you, darling? It's so good to see you again.
Contessa de Clecitra. Yes, it's been...
Yeah, I'm actually really glad they're speaking these roles right now.
I should have known you to be here. You're never one to miss an event on the social circuit.
I dare say I needed something to cheer me up after my late husband's funeral. And an evening like this is just the thing.
Let me see. What exactly was it that we last saw each other? It must have been at the Emperor's ball.
Damn, these guys are important.
Heavens, yes! Wasn't that quite the affair? Were you there when one of the waiters spilled a tray of champagne all over Duchess Reese's dress?
Oh, yes. That was positively scrumptious, wasn't it? I mean, a shame about the dress, of course. I heard she had it made just for the ball. Such a pity.
Well, given how many people come out nowadays, it was bound to happen to someone. I even heard the poor servant say he was sure he felt someone in the crowd give him a little shove. Can you imagine?
Oh, so on purpose.
Surely not. These are high lords and ladies we're talking about. No doubt the man is just making excuses for his clumsiness.
You're probably right. Just an unlucky accident, I'm sure.
Okay.
Of course. I was so sorry to hear about your husband. This is your 4th time a widow, if I'm not mistaken.
4th time? Holy shit! Woman,
So,
stop it!
And for you, 9, I believe?
What's going on?
They just keep dropping dead, the poor dears. It's so hard to find a good man with stamina these days.
So you sexed him to death.
Oh my, should I be worried? Perhaps you've been cursed.
Me? Cursed? Nonsense. I seem to be doing just fine. But maybe I am bad luck.
Ah, Misfortune, welcome. I'm so delighted that you could come. I trust Horatio has been keeping you entertained.
Oh, yes. La Comtessa and I were just scandalizing your court jester. Or was he a wizard? In any case, scandalizing him with our intimate marriage details.
Of course you were. So tell me, what do you think of the house? I must admit, when I first came into this little period piece, I immediately thought of you.
It seems melancholy, mysterious, and maybe just a little macabre. So yes, I quite like it so far.
This woman is perfect. She is me except for the 9 widows thing.
I'm glad to hear. I will take you on a more...
Oh my god, it's not hentai.
We're still waiting for more guests to arrive.
It's not hentai, Arctic. God.
And what timing. Here they are now.
That doesn't look ominous.
Miss Charisse and Miss Leah have arrived, sir.
These two look completely out of place.
Is that the Charisse? The industrial heiress? The one who's been throwing all those charity balls ever since she came into her fortune.
The very same.
My beautiful Charisse, please come in. Without you, this place is dark and drab, but your radiance rekindles it anew.
You're too kind.
Oh my! I had heard she was seeing someone, but I never imagined it was him.
Indeed. This party just got a little more interesting.
And this must be Leah, the girlhood friend of whom you speak so very highly.
Yeah, nice place you got here. If you like entertaining dead people.
Dead people? Yeah, I assure you, fair lady, you are perfectly safe here.
I like this nervous dude.
I think it was a critique of the decor, not of our safety.
Leah doesn't mean it. It's a lovely house. Really.
You look sad. Oh my goodness.
On the contrary, Miss Leah may be more right than she knows. Until recently, this mansion was the property of the Lee family. Perhaps you know of them.
Oh yes, who doesn't? A distinguished family of the nobility with a respected pedigree and a long history of public service and political influence.
You would know.
So, short version, some stuffy old rich people.
Almost all of the estates out here, away from the city, were owned by old families. But many have had to sell over the years. It must be a bit sad for them, leaving all that history behind.
Indeed, and especially so for the Lees. Theirs is a tale of tragedy, and it ends, as they so often do, in sorrow and blood.
Oh,
Come, the house itself will tell its share of the tale.
Okay. The smoking room. Okay. I can see why this room looks
This
so
is the
desolate.
smoking room. Did the Lee family use this as a quiet place to relax after their evening meals, I wonder? Or was this the proverbial smoke-filled room where secret deals would be struck and the fates of nations decided?
My attention was drawn to a curio cabinet on one side of the room. Some of the items within rather struck my fancy.
A voodoo doll and a
This
knife.
cabinet. Are these items originals?
I believe so. I have endeavored to change as little as possible about the house since acquiring it. The Lees were well known as eclectic collectors.
Is that so?
They also say that sorcery ran strongly in the Lee family, you know.
Great. As if we didn't have enough reason to think this place was owned by a bunch of creepers.
Come now. Surely a smart little girl like you doesn't put any stock in old superstitions.
Magic and superstitions, no. Weird and creepy people, on the other hand, are plenty real.
No need to worry, young lady. You're among good company here.
We will have time to look around in greater detail later, I assure you. For the moment, follow me, if you would.
Why is he wearing a mask? King bedroom. Wow, look at the size of that bed. Gibbs.
They called this the king bedroom, home to the master of the house.
Someone's on their phone.
Now, it is
This
as you
bitch
see,
is
empty
distracted.
and forlorn, as it waits for a new master to take the place of the old.
It feels so cold.
Milady, I can call for Klops to bring you a sweater.
And while he's at it, perhaps also a textbook on metaphorical versus literal language.
You are so kind, but I'm fine. It's just the atmosphere of this place.
It's haunted.
The Lees were
Ooh.
among our most powerful families before the Imperial Revolution. But like most of the old guard at the time, they chose the losing side. In many ways, the family never recovered.
They certainly never recovered financially at the very least. Thus the sale of this very house.
This lady's got like
Almost as
lizard
if
lips
old
over
money
here.
runs out if you're not smart with it. Who'd have thought?
Quite so. But at least the house has gone to those who can appreciate its history.
Queen bedroom. Well, this bed's broke.
This is the Queen bedroom, and it has a fascinating story. It is said that the famous senator Lamika Lee herself met her end in this very room during the final days of the revolution.
Yeah, I remember learning about that. She was one of the staunchest supporters of the Old Republic.
And she was killed here? In her own bedroom? That's so terrible.
By all accounts, she did not go down without a fight. Revolutionary soldiers had stormed the grounds, but none who came in here survived.
They even say that she sustained herself for days on the blood of the soldiers who kept coming for her.
Well, points for ingenuity. I'll grant her that.
But that was all a long time ago. There wouldn't still be any blood left here now, or anything.
This girl's like super nervous sounding.
Really? With all the red, it's rather difficult to say, isn't it? Who knows how much of it might have soaked into the floor, the walls, the bed.
You are right, my darling Charisse. It is all long past. A good tale for a night of ghost stories, perhaps. But thankfully, these are happier times.
Dining hall.
And here we have the dining hall. I see that Klops has left some tea and coffee on the table for us.
And orange juice too, I hope. I'm running rather low. All this dry air, you know?
Orange juice? That's what that is?
I'll see to it, sir.
For me, just a spot of black coffee would be wonderful.
This concludes our formal tour of the estate, but our evening is far from over. Tonight, my friends, is more than just a housewarming party. Before the night is done, I have a very special announcement to make to you all. Don't worry, my dear. You are safe with me.
Thank you. I was just a bit startled.
Oh, heavens, yes! The light's going out! What horror! I dare say I may faint myself, delicate flower that I am.
Flower? A noxious weed, perhaps?
Bitch,
Please,
move.
Misfortune, allow me. I've got you now.
Oh, what would we do without you? On second thought, you can unhand me. I seem to be quite all right.
Good, good. Because there's nothing to be worried about. It's just a little blackout.
Would you be so good as to check the breaker then, my dear Horatio?
Yes, of course. My talents will shed some light on all of us in no time.
I absolutely adore these old homes, but they do so often have problems with the wiring, don't they?
Excuse me, boss. Sir, There's a telephone call for you.
A call for me? Here? How mysterious. You must excuse me, my dear guests. Klops will fetch some candles for you so you can look around while Horatio works his magic on the lighting. I will return very shortly.
Oh, so he is a wizard.
I wandered
Alright.
back to the king bedroom by myself to take a closer look at some of the decor.
Yeah, I remember something caught her interest here.
The elaborate carvings on the wooden bedposts intrigued me. Spirits and demons of all sorts circled and surrounded any lord who might sleep in this bed. Was this preferable, I wondered, than sleeping in the arms of Lamika Lee, blood drinker as she was rumored to be? The air in the old house was still and thick with dust. But even had there been a draft, I doubt the black drapes by the room's window would have stirred. Even I was surprised by how thick and heavy the material was. No sunlight would have pierced its way into this room against its occupant's wishes. That much was certain. Looks like our court magician has managed to conjure back a little light for us after all. Had these books on the shelf belonged to the Lee family as well? Curious, I skimmed a few of the titles. A History of the Republic, Genealogy of the Great Families, How to Train Killer Bats, Genghis Khan and the 21 Balloons. All dreadfully dull classics, I'm sure.
Genghis Khan and the 21 Balloons? Okay.
I simply adore old chandeliers, especially the ones that come crashing down unexpectedly on the heads of people I don't like. Modern light fixtures just don't have that same potential.
Man, I sound positively evil, don't I? Okay, so I can scroll through this room.
I'd hoped that by taking a closer look at the ruined portrait, I might be able to discern who had been pictured. I could imagine no shortage of delicious reasons why a lord's portrait might be disfigured in a house such as this. Shredded by a bitter servant when the master was thought absent. Savaged by an angry child who never quite lived up to expectations. Alas, the portrait seemed more a victim of old age than of some crime of passion. And of the face, I could make out nothing at all.
At last I found you, Misfortune. You need to come right away. Please.
Whatever is the matter? You look like you've seen a ghost with that one eye of yours.
There's no time to waste, miss. You should see for yourself.
Uh-oh.
Gathering my skirts, I hurried after the hulking butler, valet, back to the hall where we had first arrived. From the urgency in his pace and in his voice, I knew that something had happened. But still...
Oh, shit!
It was our host, Prince Titanico. He was dead. That alone wouldn't scare me. I was no stranger to dead bodies. But from the way he was lying, it was clear that his death was no accident. He'd been murdered. And that meant that someone in the mansion was the murderer.
Look at the way his leg's bent. That ain't right. He got fucked up. Leg broken and stabbed in the back. Oh, wow. Thanks, game.
I found the rest of the ladies. Now, Klops, what is this all about?
Is that a body?
Everyone, shield your eyes! This is not a sight for fair sensibilities.
The other guests stood in the doorway opposite myself and Klops. My eyes fell on our oh-so-sensitive ingenue, Charisse. If ever there was a time to faint for real, this was it. But she didn't. She just stared into the room, her eyes wide, glassy, and unblinking.
Somebody needs to call the police!
Yes, ma'am. Right away.
It'll take them a while. We're ways out of the city.
We shouldn't touch anything. Let's all go back to the dining room and wait for the police to arrive.
No,
What?
we can't just sit and wait. We need to investigate. We need to see the truth with our own eyes.
I'm with you on that, Sherry.
Well, if our precocious little darlings are going to be poking about, I'm certainly not going to be left out.
If you insist, then.
My dears, please do be very careful.
We won't disturb anything, Comtessa. I promise.
That is not what I meant. It could be that whoever did this has not gone far.
Oh. Surely it was just some villain who has since fled the scene.
I'll keep an eye out, sir. Just nobody wander far, you understand?
Perhaps it would have been more comforting to believe the culprit was some stranger, a shadow in the night that was now long gone. But it just wouldn't have fit the evening's theme, now would it? I had a hunch that there was something more afoot in the old manor that night, and I certainly wasn't going to trust anyone else to properly figure it out.
Well, obviously, we know that our character here, our heroine here, is not the culprit. It could be literally anyone else.
No, what a tragedy. What a cruel twist of fate. And to think, tonight was meant to be an evening of joy and making merry.
I'm not exactly sure that joy is the word I'd pick for an evening in this house. But I'll admit, I was never expecting anything like this.
It was such a monstrous sight. Do you think Miss Leah and Miss Charisse will be all right?
Sure.
All right. They looked healthy enough to me.
That's a good point.
No, I mean, do you think they'll be distraught? You, if you don't mind me saying, are a woman of the world, Misfortune. But they are so young, so pure, like a newly bloomed flower that has only seen sunlight, never knowing that there is also night and all the horrors that it hides.
A rose, by any other name, can still prick you quite nastily if you don't know what you're doing.
I beg your pardon?
Never mind, my dear Horatio. Where were you when this absolutely dreadful business happened?
I imagine I must have still been in the basement, or very close to it. I'd only just got the lights back on, and I was coming up the stairwell when Klops found me.
Was he the one to discover the body then?
I believe so. He asked me to help find all the guests, which leads me to cleverly deduce that I was the first one he encountered after the gruesome discovery.
Ah, clever indeed. Nothing gets past you, does it, dear?
Ahem. Well, I wouldn't go that far. But where were you, Misfortune?
I was in the king bedroom.
Alone?
As it happens, yes. I've always been the sort to need a little bit of me time every so often, you know.
What does that mean?
But you could have been in danger.
Oh, horrors, you're right. If only I was clairvoyant, I might even have been worried at the time, too.
Well, never fear. You're safe with me now.
Yes, I'm sure I am.
About the prince.
Horatio, how long have you known our dear departed host?
I have, well, had been his closest friend and confidant for many years.
Oh yes, the grand magus of his court, didn't you say?
I did, but alas, though I can conjure a parlor trick or two, I could do little to foresee this unseemly doom.
Indeed. Unseemly. Just the word I would have used. Presumably you would know then, if the prince had any enemies.
A man like the prince always does, but none of them are here.
I would say the evidence suggests the contrary.
Surely you don't mean to suggest that it was one of us. After all, didn't you say that all your husbands just died from bad luck? Perhaps it was that.
Yes, quite. Bad luck.
Well, what was the announcement then?
Prince Titanico mentioned an announcement that he wished to make this evening. Do you know what that was all about?
Yes, or at least I think so.
You mean you're not sure?
You must understand, the prince was a man with a flair for the dramatic. He rather liked his secrets, and hence his surprises.
That I don't doubt. In fact, I wouldn't put it past him to have staged his own death, just to leave us all in suspense.
My dear friend did have rather unusual tastes, but I fear in this case it was not part of the plan.
I would hope not.
I see. So, are you going to tell me then?
About what?
About the announcement, of course.
No, I think not.
Oh?
As I said, he liked his secrets. Telling
I
you
didn't
now,
tell him.
It just wouldn't
Good.
be what he'd want.
But I told him there was something I wasn't allowed to tell him.
Insist on being
What you hide from me?
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Hi,
How's it
Exer.
going?
It's
How's
going.
everybody doing?
Uh,
That's great.
oh.
Murder mystery hentai. I dig it. Alright.
It's not, I promise.
Someone's been dildoed to death. Alright. I don't know what your plan, but I have a sudden interest in it.
It's a murder mystery.
With dildos?
No. Someone has been stabbed to death, though.
With dildos?
No.
Oh, damn it.
His leg's broken.
Arctic,
though.
you liar!
Do you think Justin would like that video I showed you?
Yes, probably. No, actually, no. Don't show it to him.
Okay.
Alright, I guess I'm gonna get in the shower then.
Hey, Exer.
That expertly cock-blocked.
Shut the door real quick. There's something special in the fridge.
What is it?
It's just for you.
Is it pumpkin pie?
No.
Damn it.
You're gonna have dinner first before you eat it, though. It is a dessert after all, but I'm not telling you what it is.
I'm gonna go look then.
No, you don't. Don't do it.
You've already told me that's in the fridge.
Don't do it.
I'm gonna go look.
Don't do it.
I pretty much have to.
No, don't do it.
How would I not?
Don't do it. Hey. Damn it. He's gonna go do it. No.
My hand is stuck.
Good.
Give. Give.
No. You stay right here.
No.
You go take your shower first then. Could you at least do that?
Fine. I guess I'll go take a shower right after I look in the fridge.
No, don't look in the fridge.
I'm gonna go
No,
look in
don't look in the fridge. It's not ready. No! Damn it, he's gonna go look in the fridge.
I shed my clothes.
I don't know how he did that.
It's a bowl of butt.
It's what?
What?
What'd you say?
Nothing. I love you, dear. I'm gonna get in the shower now. Thanks.
You already seen what it was. Can you guess what it is?
Is it pudding?
Yeah,
It's pudding.
it's pudding. I made pudding. It's that hashtag not sponsored Godiva white chocolate pudding with chocolate sprinkles in it.
Where's my time?
I don't know.
Alright, I love you, dear. I'm getting in the shower. This game looks stupid.
You look stupid. I'm just kidding. I love you.
I love you too.
Suppose I will have to make do on my own.
A true magician never reveals his secrets, Misfortune, nor those of his friends.
I do believe it's about time I took a bit of a stroll.
Do be careful, Misfortune, and please, if you have need of my talents...
Worry not, my dear. If the lights happen to go out again, I'll know just who to call.
You may now examine your inventory. Okay. Main hall. Let's go to the main hall. There's a body there.
As best I knew, our mysterious murder had happened here, in the hall. At the very least, I thought the body warranted a closer look. Luckily for me, I was no stranger to corpses. Funerals for 9 different husbands will do that, you know.
13, 14, 15.
It seems I'm not alone here. But what is the poor girl doing? She's just pacing back and forth and muttering to herself. Have the evening's events already broken her fragile little mind?
Examine the room first.
Was it only coincidence that the trail of candles in the center of the main hall seemed to lead straight to the body of the prince? Or had our mysterious killer intentionally used them to frame their handiwork out of some sense of macabre artistry? Well, tragic as it might be to despoil a work of art, it occurred to me that a candle might come in handy for searching the dark old house. Since with all the commotion of finding the body, I must have misplaced the one I had earlier. The house must have been abandoned for quite some time indeed. For on one side of the hall, part of the wall itself had collapsed, and nature was slowly but surely spilling into the house and reclaiming its territory. Let's hope that the place would hold up long enough for us to wrap up our little party at the very least. I suppose I could dial a number here, if I knew of one worth calling.
Fair enough.
What have we here? There's an extra wire clipped to the back of the phone. I'm quite certain this sort of phone doesn't normally need more than one wire. Let's just leave it alone for now, shall we?
Fine. Evidence of tampering? Good to know. It's the Pixar lamp, by the way. Hashtag not sponsored.
I
Alright.
decided it was time to take a closer look at the body. Corpses are always a bit distasteful, to be sure, but I'd seen enough rich old lords killed in unfortunate hunting accidents that I was rather used to it. The prince's most obvious injury was the wound on his back. Judging from the way the clothes had been pierced, it had almost certainly been made by a knife.
Looks like it's pointing outward, too. Almost want to tip the bugger over.
Deep and vicious. Clearly the work of no ordinary butter knife. The blood had soaked through the back of the prince's evening wear, but given the nastiness of the wound itself, there wasn't as much of it as I might have expected. There was something odd about the prince's right hand. I knelt down to get as close a look as I could without touching it. The palm and inside of the fingers had been burnt and blackened.
Oh.
I checked the left hand as well, just to be sure, but it seemed undamaged.
So he's got a burned right hand, very deep wound, broken leg.
The prince was face down on the floor, and there was an odd angle to his right leg. So odd, in fact, that I'd wager a platinum necklace or two that it was broken in at least one spot. Could simply collapsing on the spot from a stab wound cause a break like that? I seriously doubt it.
Looks like he'd been kicked to be like brought down and then stabbed. But the burn on his hand leaves actually quite a bit of a mystery there. Whole leg, hand. Okay. Let's talk to Charisse.
My dear little Miss Charisse, what in the world are you doing?
I'm counting.
So good to see they still teach that in grade school these days. How marvelous.
I think the timing seems off. I need to check again.
On second thought, maybe they don't teach it so well after all.
The timing. What's she doing?
I think I'll regret asking. But darling, what timing is off?
I think she's timing how long it was until the lights came back on.
It's Mr. Klops, the butler.
Valet.
Oh, yes, of course.
Well, what about him then?
I saw him go into this room when the lights were out.
I see. Is that when he found the body, do you think?
I think so. He came running out looking for Mr. Horatio. I don't think he saw me.
Oh, well, you can't blame the poor man for that. He only sees half as much as the rest of us. But just what does that have to do with all your pacing and counting?
I think he was in here too long.
I beg your pardon. Too long?
I've been timing how long it takes to walk from the door to the body. It doesn't add up. I'm sure he was in here longer. Maybe an extra 20 seconds.
Well, aren't you a delightfully clever little girl? Maybe you should have been a detective rather than a fabulously wealthy industrial heiress.
Oh, it's nothing, really. It's just... well, it's not my first time being around a murder case. That's all. I guess that helps a little.
Another murder.
I'm sorry, my dear, but did you say this isn't your first murder?
Yes. I mean, no. I mean, it wasn't my murder. But I was there when it happened.
My. I never would have imagined. It must make for an absolutely thrilling story, I'm sure.
Please, you must forgive me, but I really don't want to talk about it.
Of course. How rude of me to pry. I'm sure the experience must have been just ghastly for you. But, oh my, you don't suppose it could have something to do with our current predicament, do you?
No. No, I don't think so. It was a long way away. And the killer was stopped. And besides, except for Leah and I, nobody here was involved.
Well, that's a relief. It would be just awful if there was a serial killer following you around, or something like that. It must just be coincidence, then, that people keep dropping dead wherever you go.
I suppose that it must be.
You and the prince.
In any case, it's a good thing I found you, my dear. I had a feeling you just might be in need of my expertise.
Your expertise?
Oh, yes, dear. I've buried 9 husbands after all. I've got this morning business down pat, if I do say so myself.
Forgive me, I didn't know. I'm so sorry to hear it. That's just so much bad luck for one lifetime.
One gets used to it. And it's not all bad news. My last husband, the Duke, left me this marvelous country estate that is absolutely to die for. But silly me, here I am going on and on about myself. You must be so terribly distraught about all of this.
The prince and I, well, we hadn't been seeing each other for very long. Still, it's such a horrible crime. That's why I can't rest until I know the truth behind it.
He did seem rather smitten with you, I must say.
Well, he just liked to exaggerate, I'm sure. He had rather his own unique way with words.
Unique is one way to put it.
Sure.
You don't suppose that in his grandiose infatuation, he wrote you into his will, did he?
Oh, I can't imagine that he would have. He never said so anyway.
Pity. That's usually the first thing I ask for. Ah, well. Live and learn, my dear.
Yeah, my character does sound like I might be the culprit. If you gain an important piece of information, it may be useful to go back and talk to characters you previously talked to. Let's go to the smoker room.
I returned to what the prince had called the proverbial smoke-filled room. It struck me that this would be the perfect place to call everyone and reveal the truth to this mystery. All in good time, of course. In the meantime, I thought it wise to take another look around while I still had the room to myself.
Gather everyone, I know who the killer is. No, I'm not gonna do that to myself. I don't know who the killer is just yet.
On one side of the room, there was a wine rack filled with dusty old bottles. Most were empty, but a few still contained small amounts of what must have been very well-aged red wine. At least, I hoped it was just wine. With a family like the Lees, one could never be quite sure. Perhaps I should take a bottle with me to check it later, just in case.
Wine bottle added to inventory. Okay. Oh, the knife is gone.
That cabinet had a few things of interest in it, if I remember correctly. Let's take a closer look. A padded velvet cushion sat in the cabinet looking somewhat forlorn. Surely it was meant to showcase something more interesting, but there was nothing on it now. I could swear that something had been on this cushion before. Just what was it?
Damn it. It was a knife. I need to find the knife.
There was an odd little doll that seemed to be made out of straw. Was it some kind of voodoo doll? I tried making those a time or two myself, although, to my great dismay, they never seemed to actually work quite right.
Good to know that there's something to do here.
The strange pose of the statue in the corner of the room rather reminded me of my third husband. You see, the last time I saw the dear old boy, he was in the process of losing his balance and tumbling down the whole stairs. Terrible tragedy, really. I had to have those stairs completely replaced just to get the blood out.
Goddamn. My character sounds like a Class A, like, wheel chaser, you know? Alright. Leave. Good to know that there's something there, though, like, that I need to look for. I need to look for the knife. Breaker room in the basement.
Thanks to my candle here, I should be able to find the light switch. Ah, there we go. With only a little effort, I found my way down to the basement of the old house. Although our little adventure with the lighting had seemed natural enough at the time, given the condition of the house, the prince's murder had colored all of the evening's happenings with a more sinister shading. Perhaps examining the house's electrical panel for myself would shed some light on the mystery.
Examine the room.
That must be the breaker panel. Let's take a closer look, shall we? I don't know much about this sort of thing, but it looks to me that all the switches are on, except for one. Well, fun as it would be to make the little girl faint again, I probably shouldn't touch them for now. The wiring is old, but it looks to me like it should all work. It's a bit of a mess, though. Hard to tell just what goes where. Hello. What have we here? It's an electrical timer. I once used one of these in the school breaker room to shut off the lights during my high school exams. You can use it to flip a breaker switch at a predetermined time. The question is, just what is it doing here? I'm starting to think our little blackout earlier might have been no accident after all.
Timer added to inventory. Well now. Seems like there's nothing left in here, so let's leave. Let's go to the queen bedroom.
In the queen bedroom, I found my old social acquaintance, the Comtessa. To say that I trusted her was going much too far. But I had certainly known her longer than anyone else there that evening. Besides that, I knew her to have an ear for gossip and an eye for detail. If there was anyone who could tell me a little more about the cast of our little drama, it was her.
There you are, Misfortune, darling. I must say this whole affair is just dreadful, isn't it?
Tragic. Truly tragic.
Prince Titanico was an eccentric man, but he knew how to put on a show. Sadly, this is rather more than I expected, I'm afraid.
Are we really sure he didn't plan the whole thing after all? You know, have the last laugh, go out with a bang, that sort of thing?
Oh no, my dear, I don't think so. The prince, by all accounts, was...
Do you want to talk about her hand here? Like, I get she's, like, trying to have it, like, up against her hip, but, like, please. Please, put a crease here. Otherwise, it just looks like you got a deformed hand.
Pity. It would have made for such a
Hi!
delicious story.
Hi,
Not to
Skooma!
mention no longer having to worry about a possible killer being on the loose.
Yes, Skooma, it's a murder mystery.
Quite so.
Get out of the way. Examine the room. Let's see.
I'd helpfully noted the garish red color of the bed the first time we visited the room. But this time, something looked off. Near the top of the bed, the color looked darker than before. I reached beneath the pillows, and sure enough...
Oh,
There was a
no.
knife with a distinctively wavy blade. A blade that was covered with blood. I'd wager a good portion of my last husband's life insurance that the blood belonged to Prince Titanico himself.
I say, darling, what have you got there?
Well, it seems to be a knife. I found it here under the pillow.
A knife? goodness! Do you think it could be the murder weapon?
I'm not sure, but it very well could be. Let's just leave it here, shall we? I'm sure the police will want to know about it later, but for now, it will be our little secret.
Very well, dear. I do so love a good secret.
Well, now I know. I know where the murder weapon is. That was easy.
On a small table near the center of the room sat a little book, the kind one could write in. Could it be a diary? And by reading it, might I steal a forbidden glimpse into the inner life of some member of the once mighty elite family? But to my great disappointment, I found the pages empty. Ah, well, I suppose that hoping to discover the defiant last words of the infamous Lamika Lee written in blood really would have been a bit much to ask for.
What else in this room?
I couldn't make out the lady in the ruined portrait, but I assumed it must be some grand old dame of the Lee household. Why had she been left behind, I wondered? Had the rest of the family simply not liked her? Mind you, if I ever had to sell one of my estates, I'd rather fancy leaving behind as many self-portraits as I could spare. You know, just so that the new owners would feel like I was keeping an eye on them.
Oh?
A set
Vases.
of old vases sat on the dresser. Could there possibly still be anything in them? The neck of the nearest vase was too narrow for me to see anything inside at a glance. I suppose I could have stuck my hand in to feel around, but there could easily be a mouse or a spider lurking in there. No, that would be a much more suitable job for Miss Charisse and those small, dainty hands of hers, I think. You know, it was really quite shocking. One minute the prince was playing host and telling ghost stories, and next thing you know, we all come running and he's dead on the floor.
Oh, indeed. That was a surprise of a most unpleasant nature.
Where were you when you heard the news? It was that one-eyed shambler in the ill-fitting coat who found me in the other bedroom. Did he find you first?
No. In fact, I was in here. And it was that young man with a decidedly orangish hue who brought me the news.
Our oh-so-helpful Horatio. He must have been done fixing the lights then.
Yes, they'd only just come on. I must say, he was in quite a state, with those robes of his flapping about everywhere. I expect I would have laughed if he didn't look so distressed.
Oh, alas, such a wasted opportunity.
Mind you, he didn't tell me exactly what the matter was at first. I'm not sure he knew himself. He only said that something had happened, and we had to gather everyone together right away.
And our two little darlings. You found them on the way back then?
Precisely. Just as we were coming back down to the main floor.
Well, it's good we've got that all straightened up. With so much running about the house, it's enough to make one's head spin trying to sort it all out.
Oh my word, yes! I used to get quite bad headaches myself, especially back when I was with my second husband. Mind you, those only ever seemed to come on when he was telling golfing stories.
My dear, I know exactly what you mean.
Let's ask about the prince.
Darling, I have a little confession to make. Although I'd met our good host, ex-host, a number of times, I'm afraid I never really knew him, if you understand what I mean.
Oh my.
I hardly expect you're the only one in that situation, my dear. The prince had this maddening habit of talking all the time and yet somehow still saying very little.
So was he really a prince then? Do you know?
These days, title really does not mean what it once did. After all, how many do you have now?
Oh, let me see. At least 3. All by marriage, of course. Sometimes it can be hard to keep track.
Just so. No doubt our late prince could make some claim or another. But these days, who can't? Just about anyone can claim a tenuous connection to some great old family that was thought lost in the Revolution. And it's so hard to prove them wrong. And as long as there isn't money involved, no one much cares to try.
So he called himself a prince, and that's about all anyone knew. He wasn't married or anything, was he?
Good heavens, I hope not. You did see him doting all over our sweet little Charisse, didn't you?
That's true.
Come now, Comtessa. You and I both know that's proof of nothing.
So cruel, but so true. Still, if he was ever married, I never heard of it.
And you do have such a knack for hearing interesting things, darling. If there was anything to hear, I dare say you would have heard it.
Oh, modesty forbids.
In any case, it would seem our late prince was quite the enigma then. At least I can feel glad that I wasn't the only one in the dark.
About Charisse.
I don't know about you, but I can't shake the impression that Miss Charisse was, for lack of a better term, the guest of honor this evening. What do you know about her?
Oh, the poor girl. She's an only child, and her parents passed away just recently.
Yes, I feel for her. An enormous inheritance, and all of a sudden no one around to tell her how to spend it. The family, they were industrialists, were they not?
That's right, though by the end they were into pretty much everything. Manufacturing, banking, real estate, and more. They were a bit close-lipped about their net worth, but certainly one of the richest private families in the empire.
And if I recall correctly, they were a new money family, too. Money-grubbing upstarts. I think I heard them called at court from time to time.
Did you really? I don't doubt it, of course. My word, that place can be just so beastly sometimes.
Actually, I thought that was rather tame. You should hear the things they call me.
Oh yes, they can say such horrid things about widows like us. Sometime you and I will have to swap stories of the more creative ones. When the circumstances are more pleasant, of course.
Of course.
You and the prince.
So how did you know Prince Titanico then? I met him at an art auction myself. How about you?
Oh, I hardly knew him at all, really. He was an acquaintance of my late husband's. They played cards together sometimes at his club, or so I understand.
I see. Is this the first time you've seen him then, since your husband passed away?
Well, he came to the funeral, but other than that, yes. Yes, it is.
Don't you think it's a little odd that he would invite you out to a rather small event like this, when your husband was the one he actually knew?
He said he thought I would appreciate the historical nature of the estate, and he's not wrong on that count. Perhaps he may have also thought I'd be a little lonely, being recently widowed and all. That part's nonsense, of course. A woman in my position gets rather used to it. But it's sweet of the dear boy to try.
Yes, indeed. One does get used to it. Husbands come and go. It's the way of the world, really.
Too true.
I guess it's everything. Let's check the king bedroom one more time. Anything new happen here?
I returned to the king bedroom, where I'd been when the whole grisly affair started. I thought it might give me a chance to think by myself, but alas, it was not to be. The curtains were drawn back, and a particularly pernicious twerp of a girl was leaning halfway out the window. After what had already happened, it would be such a shame were she to slip and go out all the way. Young girls these days really ought to be more careful.
Examine the room.
The elaborate carvings on the wooden bedpost intrigued me. Spirits and demons, was this preferable?
Okay, so that didn't change. Wondering if anything new happened here. No, I suppose not. Well, here we go.
For just the slightest of moments, I considered collapsing into the antique red chair in the room's corner. After all, we'd spent the evening on our feet, traipsing about the house for the prince's little ghost tour. Then I remembered that spiderwebs don't just come out of nowhere, and that upholstery is a prime place for the little nasties to hide. I would have to remember to warn our doe-eyed little angel about that as well. You know, in addition to the possible bloodstains and all. Just what kind of skeletons did the Lee family have locked away inside that conspicuous old chest? I must confess, I have a terrible weakness for things that are locked up to keep me out of them. Alas, it's my brother's surprise who's rather handy with the lockpicks, not me. The air in the old house was still and thick with dust. But even had there been,
Okay, I heard that one before, so let's stop the examination and talk to Leah.
My dear little girl, just what are you doing? You're liable to go for quite the little tumble if you keep leaning out the window like that.
I'm trying to get a decent signal.
Oh, for your phone? Yes, it does seem like you young people just can't get by without them these days.
I don't care about the phone. I want network access.
Whatever for.
So I can hack the phone company records and figure out who called this house.
You can do that, can you?
Yep. Look, I hate people staring over my shoulder when I'm working. Can't you go find a fainting couch and a bottle of smelling salts or something?
Now, Miss Leah, was it? I'm afraid I just don't know very much about you. Who are you exactly?
I'd like to know that too.
Friend?
I rather gathered that much. But, my dear girl, what with her enormous fortune, social connections, and nauseatingly innocent good looks, I'd imagine the list of people who'd like to be friends with Miss Charisse is rather long. What's special about you?
Fine. My parents were rich too. They're in the tech business. Sherry and I went to private school together. I helped her with math, she helped me be a better person. Fair trade, I hope.
You say were. Have your parents passed away as well?
No, we just don't get along too well right now.
Ah, and your dear old fabulously wealthy school friend took you in. How sweet of her.
Uh-huh, I see where you're going with this. And no, I'm not financially dependent on Charisse. Sure, I live with her, but I've got a nice little fund of my own. So I've got no motive to bump off a boyfriend out of fear that he'll kick me out of the house or something like that.
Oh my, perish the thought. I'd never dream of suggesting such a thing.
No, I'm sure you've got much nastier things to save for your dreams.
Charisse and the Prince.
So your friend Miss Charisse, just how long had she been seeing our dear departed host?
Not that long, but he seemed pretty intense about it. Nighttime river cruises, the opera, the theater, you name it.
Ah, swept off her feet into a whirlwind romance with a dark and mysterious, dashing older man. Your friend must have been positively giddy with excitement.
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, it must have been so hard for you, being left out of all that and resigned to watching from the sidelines.
Yeah, right. That kind of high society stuff isn't really my thing.
No, I suppose not.
Come to think of it, Wizard Boy sometimes looked a little pouty at being left out though.
Did he really? How do you know? Did he tell you so?
No, nothing like that. Just an impression I got. Not really my business anyway. As long as Sherry's happy, I'm happy. That's all that matters.
I see. So, was she happy?
That's a good question.
It was what she wanted. So yeah.
And try though you might, you just can't bring yourself to sound happy about that. My, how curious.
Look, if you're gonna pry any further, you'd better go get yourself a crowbar, don't you think?
So, your sweet little friend. She can be quite the tease, it seems. I was just talking to her earlier, and she let it drop that this wasn't her first murder case.
You must think you're very clever for worming that out of her. You know, I bet you're one of those people who think they're a lot smarter than they really are, aren't you?
My dear Leah, something like that is not exactly the wisest thing to say when you're perched precariously on the edge of a window. It's ever so fortunate that I'm in a good mood today.
A good mood. Here, now. How could... No, never mind. I forgot who I was talking to.
In any case, my dear, Miss Therese said the only other one here who was involved in that case was you. No matter how smart I might or might not think I am, surely you can't blame me for wondering whether it might be relevant to our current predicament.
Well, it's not. Not directly, anyway.
Aha! Not directly. Now we're getting somewhere.
Look, I don't want to talk about it, and I'm sure Sherry said the same thing. It was bad. For everyone, but especially for her. The truth she learned that day, she's never going to forget. And she definitely doesn't need you dredging it all up.
Fine.
There's no need to tell me, darling. She learned the truth about her family, didn't she? That not all that lovely money of theirs was obtained through, how shall we say, completely honest business. It's plain as day, really. Insufferably idealistic young socialite comes into her fortune and starts throwing it at every charitable cause she can find out of guilt. Oh yes, I know her type well enough.
We learned that her family had been mixed up with some really bad people. Well, they're just bad. With true evil.
And so it turns out her life of wealth and comfort was built on the blood of innocence. So very tragic for her, I'm sure.
She just wants to make up for it all. Make it all right again. Sometimes I worry she thinks she can carry the weight of the whole world. She pushes herself hard enough.
Yes, I did say insufferably idealistic, didn't I?
If by that you mean a better person than you'll ever be, then yeah, that's spot on. She just needs someone to watch her back. That's all.
And let me guess, you'd do whatever it takes to keep your dear little friend safe, wouldn't you?
Whatever it takes.
My, such ardor, such resolve. Remind me never to get on your bad side, darling.
Too late.
So who called the house?
So who was it then that called the house?
If I tell you, Would it get you to leave me alone?
My dear girl, this predicament affects all of us. If you found out anything that might be in the least helpful, surely it's in all of our interests for you to share it.
I'll take that as a yes. Fine. The number is 11223344. It's a business number registered to Oxley Accounting Services.
An accountant? Doesn't exactly sound like a social call, now does it?
Who knows? As far as I can tell, this Prince Titanico had some pretty weird friends.
You haven't tried contacting them then?
No, that'd mean talking to more weirdos. I'd rather try and hack into their private email or something and see what's up.
I'll leave you to it, my dear.
That was an exquisite phone number. Beautiful. Mwah. Beautiful. I'll be going back to the main hall soon enough. To the manor grounds.
When I'd first arrived at the manor house, I thought it might rain that evening. And in light of recent events, I half expected a flash of lightning to provide an atmospheric backdrop to the stage of our little drama, complete with the clap of thunder as the applause. But the night air...
I like this misfortune.
And the only sound was the rustling of weeds and brush that clawed against the foundations of the
I like her
building.
taste.
Wait, rustling? But there isn't any wind. Who's that out there?
It's just me, Misfortune, ma'am.
I say, what in the world are you doing skulking about in the brush like that? Don't tell me they get you to do the groundskeeping around here, too.
Sometimes I do a bit of gardening, yes. You know, when things get out of hand.
Gardening? At a time like this?
Well, no, ma'am. Right now, I'm keeping an eye out for strangers, just to keep everyone safe.
Sure.
What a relief. I do feel ever so much safer when a hulking man with an eye patch is lurking in the shadows right outside the house.
Let's examine the grounds.
There were stories from the time of the Revolutionary War that when soldiers first stormed the grounds of the Lee Manor, ferocious spectral beasts appeared out of nowhere to tear apart the terrified trespassers. Of course, you can't believe everything you hear, but I found myself keeping a watchful eye on the wolf statues in the courtyard, just to be sure.
Ooh, the love
A
shack.
rundown shed sat in the corner of the yard. Gingerly, I tried the door, but the wood had swollen, and it seemed stuck in its frame. It was just as well, I suppose. Ugh. Why would I want to go inside a moldy old shed anyway?
I really feel like there might be evidence in there.
Phelps claimed he had already checked the ground around the house for footprints, but I thought it couldn't hurt to double check. Apparently, I thought wrong, though, for as I stepped off the path into the brush, the weeds and thorns tore at my skirts and scratched my ankles. You know, I think I'll just take the one-eyed brute's word for it after all.
Nothing else? Alright, let's talk to Mr. Klops out in the rain. Finding the body.
So, you were in quite the tizzy when you came running to find me earlier. Was it you who found the body?
What, Skooma? What? What? This cat is intently looking at me. What, Skooma? What a cutie.
Yes, ma'am. I found it in the hall, just like you saw.
And what were you doing before that?
Well, I let the boss, I mean, the prince, into the hall to take his phone call. Then I went to the pantry to get more candles for the dining room. I didn't know how long Horatio was going to be with the lights.
So, the prince was alone then when you left him in the hall?
Yes, ma'am. Without a doubt.
Why then, it appears you may have been the last one to see the poor prince alive.
Wouldn't that actually have been the killer, ma'am?
I suppose so. But then, you did just say you were quite certain he was alone.
What do you mean by that? I'm just doing my job here.
Oh yes, of course. I'm sure you're quite excellent at, well, whatever it is that valets do.
What are you doing?
My dear Clops, please tell me you didn't really think there might still be a stranger lurking around here in the underbrush.
Well, ma'am, no one was watching the door when the prince was in the hall. Whoever did it could have run right out the front door.
Why, indeed they could have. Not much gets by you, it seems. And yet, here you are, searching through the weeds at the base of the house. With the coast clear, would our furtive stranger not just have kept going?
I'm sure he probably did. I'm just looking for footprints.
Oh, footprints now. Ah, yes, of course. And have you found any?
No, ma'am.
More's the pity. It would have been so much nicer to believe the killer was no longer in the house. Especially with our resident bodyguard busy traipsing through the muck outside.
Sorry, ma'am, but I'm just a valet.
Of course you are.
About the prince.
Can you tell me anything about our late host? Perhaps about this grand announcement of his?
About the boss? I mean, the prince? Sorry, ma'am, but he wasn't the sort to confide in a mere valet like myself.
Oh, come now. I know how it is with servants. You're bound to have seen or heard a thing or two about the house, whether your master knows it or not.
Look, I take my duties seriously. I make it a point not to see things that I'm not supposed to see.
Yes, I suppose not seeing things would be rather a specialty of yours. Tell me, have you worked for the prince for a long time?
Yes, ma'am. Many years now.
And you're still just a valet? Tisk tisk. Promotions must be hard to come by in that household.
About the phone call.
That's right. In all this commotion, I'd almost forgotten the whole reason the prince left us was to take a phone call. Do you know who was calling?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Well, that's a little odd. They didn't give a name.
I asked, but they said the matter was confidential.
So you spoke to them then. Can you describe anything at all about the call?
Yes, I took the call, and they asked for the prince right away. Which is a bit funny, now that you mention it. I didn't think very many people would have this number. Anyway, pretty sure the caller was a woman. She was all crisp and businesslike, too. I'm afraid I can't tell you more than that.
Crisp and businesslike.
I suppose it would be too much to hope that this rotting old place would have call display.
No, ma'am. It's a wonder most of the wiring around here even works at all.
Must be magic, I suppose.
So it was a woman on the phone, and apparently it was an accounting service or office. A mystery to be sure.
The family crest of the Lees still adorns some of the flags and banners that hung from the walls in the dining room. I suppose it wasn't a bad crest, really. A little overly dramatic with all the spikiness, perhaps. But then, they weren't exactly a family that had cultivated a particularly cuddly image.
Oh, cool. They honored Slender Man.
At first, I was inclined to laugh at the giant, oddly proportioned statue that was the dining room centerpiece. but as I drew closer, I couldn't help but feel a bit intimidated by the way it loomed over me. Then again, I could say the exact same things about that gruesome one-eyed manservant Klops. Who'd have ever thought he would have so much in common with a work of art? The family crest of the Lees still adorns some of the flags and banners.
Oh, whoops.
A little
Alright, well, that's a complete one.
long,
Table?
narrow tables stretched down either side of the room for what seemed like forever. At one end were the remnants of our refreshments from earlier, but I think I'll leave them alone for now. I mean, it didn't look like poison had anything to do with the prince's death, but one can never be too careful. Inside the lantern was a candle. I doubt anyone would notice if I took it with me. The family crest of the Lees still adorns
Oh, whoops.
a little.
Alright, another one. More table, more table. Anything else to examine around here? No, I suppose not. Alright, let's see if there's anything new about Horatio. There's a lot.
So, that Klops fellow. He was the prince's valet. Have I got that right?
Yes, that's right. Mr. Tor is the butler, but today's his day out.
So is he, a good valet then? I only ask because I just found him skulking about in the brush outside, and I wasn't really sure if that was the sort of things valets usually do.
Was he now? Well, I can't say I know terribly much about the exact duties of my dear friend's household staff, but I know he did some gardening from time to time.
Indeed, gardening. I believe he said something along those lines as well.
Yes, well, he was quite good at whacking weeds. Or so I heard.
I suppose that sounds about right. If I were a weed, or really, even if I wasn't, I wouldn't want to get whacked by him either. Was he happy with his work? Do you know?
Come to think of it, he did seem a bit jealous of Mr. Tor's position from time to time.
No doubt being a butler pays better than a mere valet. Though I'm not sure how either stacks up against a grand magus.
Need I remind you, Misfortune, I am not, was not, an employee of the prince's household.
But of course, how silly of me. So back to Mr. Klops then. Do you know if he had issues with money? Might he badly have needed a raise?
Really couldn't say. Perhaps someone on the staff did, though. I did sometimes hear Mr. Tor complain about small valuables going missing.
Oh?
So very interesting. You've been a great help, my dear Horatio.
It is my pleasure to be of service.
The announcement again.
Horatio, dear, are you certain you won't tell me about this special announcement that the prince was going to make?
Of course. My lips are sealed.
Oh, ho-hum. Then I suppose I'll just have to tell you about it.
You... what?
It had to do with this, didn't it? How about this? Wait. That's not what I meant. Pretend you didn't see that. What I really meant to show you was,
Yeah, I didn't think that was gonna work.
Horatio, my dear, I'm so sorry, but I'm afraid you've got some explaining to do.
Now, Misfortune, I already told you, a magician.
Yes, never reveals his secrets and all that. Why don't we just skip to the part where you tell me what this is all about?
This one I got.
Where did you find that?
In the breaker room, darling. Right where you left it.
Oh.
Here's the part where you start talking then.
Well, you're right. I put it there. It was Titanico's idea. He thought the whole blackout business would add some drama to the evening.
An excuse to startle us. Especially poor little Miss Cherise. So there was nothing wrong with the wiring then?
Nothing at all. That's why he had to make sure to send me to deal with it.
So, you were the only other one who knew about this little special effect then?
Yes, I do believe so. I did say that the prince often took me into his confidence, didn't I?
Yes, several times, I think.
Well, you won't tell anyone else, will you? As you can see, it had nothing to do with the murder.
It does seem that way, I suppose. At least, for now.
Okay. Okay. Well, I nailed him with that timer. Let's go to the smoking room. This won't be the last time I go into this room either. Because I know about that pillow. Examine the room. Cabinet.
A padded velvet cushion sat in the cabinet looking somewhat forlorn. Surely it was meant to showcase something more interesting. I could swear that something had been on this cushion.
Just what was it? It was the knife.
That was it. There had been a knife on the cushion during our tour. I was sure of it. And not just any knife. The knife that may have stabbed the prince. But who could have taken it? I cast my mind back, trying to remember if anyone had lingered behind for even a moment. But it availed me nothing. The prince had been the first to leave the room, but that was the only thing of which I was certain.
Alright, well that's good to know, I guess. Let's go to the main hall and dial that number.
I suppose I could dial a number here, if I knew of one worth calling.
Whoops. 11223344. Dial number.
Oxley Accounting Offices. That's what that Leah girl had said. Of course, she could have just been making it up to get rid of me. I'd certainly do the same to her. But...
Oxley Accounting Offices, Oxley speaking. Are you a new or pre-existing client?
To tell you the truth, I'm not really sure.
I see. That doesn't bode well for the organizational state of your paperwork.
Actually, I'm calling on behalf of a friend.
In that case, please be advised then that I will only be able to answer the most basic of queries without certified written permission from your associate, or friend, as you call them.
Sadly, I fear my friend's signature would be difficult to obtain at the moment. But I think basic queries will do well enough for now.
Did you call the house?
Now, Miss Oxley, was it? You sound like a very organized person. you tell me if you called this number earlier this evening?
Yes, I log all of my calls, both incoming and outgoing. And yes, I did call this number at 8:32 p.m. Sharp, of course.
Yes, 8:30. That sounds about right. Wait a minute. Isn't that rather late for an accounting office to still be open?
An 8-hour business day is standard in many sectors, but we take our work very seriously here at Oxley Accounting. Besides which, it was requested that I call at precisely that time.
Requested? How odd. Requested by whom?
In the absence of written consent, I am not authorized to provide that information.
Oh, of course you're not. How silly of me. Can you at least tell me if you spoke to anyone when you called?
Yes, the call was answered. I asked to speak with a particular individual and was told to wait.
And you did wait then?
For 4 minutes and 36 seconds, yes.
And after such an oddly specific yet arbitrary amount of time, you hung up?
Certainly not. Someone picked up, I introduced myself again, and then they hung up.
How rude. To think anyone could hang up on such an obviously charming personality as yours. Might you happen to know a man called Prince Titanico?
I am familiar with that name, yes. In fact, I was hoping I might speak to him. Is he there?
I'm afraid that really won't be possible.
Very well. In that case, please inform him I will continue to try to contact him at regular intervals.
Oh, you can try. Can you tell me, was Prince Titanico a client of your office?
In the absence of written consent, I am not authorized to provide that information.
But if you're trying to contact him, you must have some kind of business relation with him.
In the absence of written consent, I am not authorized to provide that information.
You can be just insufferably obstinate, can't you?
If by that you mean thoroughly professional, then yes.
Same thing, really.
Your client's dead.
Miss Oxley, I'm not entirely sure how to tell you this, but Prince Titanico is dead.
I see. That will definitely have some ramifications for my paperwork.
Not only that, but it seems rather likely that he was killed precisely when he came to answer your phone call.
Noted. I suppose that explains why he hung up so abruptly and didn't call back.
Yes, didn't you find that a little bit odd at the time?
Not really. For certain types of business, it's quite common to encounter some reluctance on behalf of the other party.
But hang on, I thought the prince was your client. Why would he be reluctant to speak with his own accountant?
Accounting is not the only service we provide at our office. We also perform audits, credit checks, and financial investigations of various sorts.
Of course, now it makes sense. The prince was being audited, wasn't he?
In the absence of written consent, I am not authorized to provide that information.
It's quite all right, dearie. I can connect the dots myself. You've been ever so helpful. In spite of yourself, really.
You are welcome to log your opinion of our interaction on our office's website feedback form. Now, exactly who was I speaking with again? Are you with the police?
Ah, no. They're on their way. My name's Misfortune. I'm one of the guests.
I'm quite sure that name has been in my files before. Something to do with a possible inheritance tax irregularity from a deceased spouse? Let me check.
That won't be necessary. Besides, the wiring is a bit dodgy in this place. The phone could go out at any moment. Ta-ta then!
Okay, good to know. I got some more information. I feel like that is important.
What have we here?
Remember?
There's an extra wire clipped to the back of the phone. I'm quite certain this sort of phone doesn't normally need more than one wire. Let's just leave it alone for now, shall we?
Good to know anyways. Alright, why would his hand be burned? Did he try, like, grabbing a candle? Let's talk to Charisse one more time. New money.
So, my poor little girl. I was talking to my friend the Comtessa, and she told me she'd heard people at court say the rudest things about your late family.
I suppose they might have done. Sometimes people will say things that are quite unkind. I try not to let it bother me.
Still, it must be awfully hard being a new money family when there are so many busybodies who go on and on about tradition and blue blood and that sort of thing.
Oh, I don't think so. Some people will say cruel things about anybody. I've heard them say things even about the Comtessa, too. So it wasn't just us.
About the Comtessa, really? I thought you said you didn't listen to that sort of thing.
I try not to. But Titanico talked about it sometimes. I think he knew the Comtessa's last husband before he passed away.
My goodness! Surely he didn't imply that she was in any way responsible. That would be unthinkable.
Well, he did say there were rumors. But I'm sure that's all they were. Like I said, people say nasty things sometimes.
Sure they do.
Yes, my dear. They most certainly do.
Okay. Okay, I can dig it. I'm going to go back to talk to the Comtessa. See if there's anything new to dig up about her. There you go, Leah's family.
Comtessa, darling, I just heard a delectable little morsel of gossip and simply must share it with someone.
Why, some scrumptious gossip is just what I need right now. Do tell me more, dear.
Oh.
I was talking to the Leah girl. You know, Charisse's little hanger-on. And she hinted that she'd been feuding with her family and was more or less kicked out of the house.
Oh my, how sad for the poor young thing.
To be honest, if she lived with me, I'm quite sure I'd do the same. But do you know anything about who she is?
I dare say I know a little. Her parents were wealthy moguls in the technology sector. That is, until about a year ago.
Ugh, of course they were. No wonder I didn't know who she was. I find all that technobabble so terribly dull. So, what happened?
Someone leaked the company's most sensitive records. Records that suggested corporate espionage and other unsavory business. Thanks to a rather exorbitantly priced lawyers, the family avoided a prison sentence, but the company was ruined.
Sure.
I see. Do you think, then, that our very own Miss Leah was...
The one to leak the files? Oh, darling, it's unseemly to speculate about such things. All I know is that they always said it must have been an inside job.
Ooh.
A self-righteous brat who will send her own family up the river if that's what it takes to do what she thinks is right. And here I thought I couldn't like her any less than I already did.
Now, what else? I haven't found anything, like, new. This white wire. I should go to the breaker room.
Goodness, the evening must be wearing on me more than I thought. Even my purse seems heavy. A knife? In my bag? It's even flecked with blood. And what's this? A ring? It looks decidedly pricey. but it's not one of mine. How did it get here? For just a moment, I was confused. But then the gruesome sight of Titanico's body flooded my thoughts, and the truth hit me. I was being set up. Almost certainly, what I held in my hands was the knife that had stabbed the prince. I don't know how it got in my purse, but whoever put it there had made a mistake. Because if there's one thing I know for sure, it's that anyone who tries to frame me for murder is going to regret it.
Yet another knife? Huh. There's two kinds of knives now. Oh dear.
The wiring is old, but it looks to me like it should all work. It's a bit of a mess, though. Hard to tell just what goes where.
Is there any way I could, like, figure it out? No? Alright. Well, I don't like this one bit. Let's see. Smoking room? Now things are taking a turn for the interesting. Let's examine the room. To the cabinet. See, there's an embedding for two knives.
Cushion sat in the cabinet looking somewhat. I could swear that something had been on this cushion before.
This one looks like it has more blood on it.
Yes, that was it. There had been a knife on the cushion during our tour, but who could have taken it? I cast my mind back. The large crystal globe in the cabinet was impossible to miss. It seemed to be filled with a swirling red mist of some kind, and as I stared into it, I thought for a moment that I could see a pair of malevolent eyes. Or was it just one, staring back? But surely it must have just been my reflection in combination with the dim light.
Sure.
A rundown shed sat in the corner of the yard. It was just as well. Klops claimed he had already checked the ground around the house for footprints. Apparently,
Now I well and truly am stuck.
Just what kind of skeletons did the Lee family have locked away inside that conspicuous old chest? I must confess, I have a terrible...
So I can't do anything with it. Alright, let's see if we got anything new with Leah. Nope. Alright. I'm really glad that I don't have a clock counting down on me.
Horatio, dear, are you certain you won't tell me about this special announcement that the prince was going to make?
Of course. My lips are sealed.
Oh, ho-hum. Then I suppose I'll just have to tell you about it.
You... what?
It had to do with this, didn't it?
Alakazam, how did you get that?
I rather wish I knew that myself. But for now, I think it's best to stay on track while the wizard is still wonderstruck. Tut-tut, my dear. Magicians aren't the only ones who get to keep secrets. The important thing is what the prince planned to do with it. It was his, wasn't it?
Well, yes. I mean, it was. Well, it wasn't exactly for him, you see. Oh dear.
No
Yeah.
need to worry, darling. I already know exactly what it was for. It's simple, really. He was going to propose to Charisse.
And what makes you say that?
Oh, come now, my dear. It doesn't take a fortune teller to see that he'd been doing everything in his power to sweep her off her feet. Add to that a diamond ring sized for slender little fingers, and the story all but writes itself.
It is true that he was quite, taken with her, yes. I mean, who wouldn't be, really?
Oh, yes. Sweet, demure, pliable, and very, very rich. Just the type for the prince, I'm sure.
You're not going to tell Miss Charisse about this, are you? Surely it would only make things even harder for her.
No, at least not yet. Like I said, sometimes I like to have a secret or two up my sleeve myself. But confirming that I was right about the prince's intent certainly does paint this mystery in a whole new light.
Sure does. I think I'm getting somewhere here. I was hoping to see the remnants of the refreshments. Alright. Leave this room. Now that I got that little piece of evidence. I would just go out and break it to the bitch, but it's probably not a good idea. I won't yet. In fact, I think I should talk to Leah about it now. No? That's not a thing? Gosh damn it. Alright, fine. Let's go talk to the Contessa. Someone's trying to frame me for murder, and I'm not one too happy about that. Okay, Contessa's got nothing. Let's examine the room. Pillow had the knife, the first knife. Not a bad spot to put the murder weapon, especially since no one goes in here, you know.
A set of old vases sat on the dresser. I suppose I could have stuck my hand.
There's nothing to do with those vases? Nothing at all? What about the wine? Could you pour wine in them? Of course not. Let's go to the main hall. Got nothing. Alright. I'm legit confused. Not sure where to go from here. It's like playing Clue. Everyone's got a colored theme. Like the clubs? No? Examine grounds. Is there anything new going on out here or anything? No?
Flops claimed he had already checked the ground around the house for foot. Apparently, I thought wrong, though.
There's brush right here. So it's just brush all around until I reach shed. Weird. I suppose I'm gonna have to take some extra time and take a look at what I'm doing here. But this is it's a very interesting game, and it has me thoroughly intrigued. But I'm gonna stop here for now because I feel like I'm getting absolutely too much nowhere too fast. So for now, thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked what you've seen, leave a like and follow. And if you want to see more of games like these, do let me know. I post all of this stuff on YouTube, so be sure to check out that channel, No Lives Left, as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.